Hey guys, Mark Allen, BHSpringSolutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com, back for another session of High Power University, and this is part two of kind of, you say, old versus new. 80 approximately year old high power, maybe less than 5-year-old high power here at the in the first quarter of 2021 as we're making this video. And we're going to be running over to the 2016 manufactured here in just a second, but I did just want to say that this very antique-ish, I guess you might say, high power from the early days of the high power pistol. Now, after a decent amount of shooting, much of that very, very rapid fire to just kind of acid test this thing. Frankly, a lot of the pistol is new or replaced, I guess you'd say, with very lightly used surplus parts. The fire control group, with the exception of the ejector, has been replaced. The extractor has been replaced. The trigger subassembly has been replaced. Magazines have been replaced. So lots of parts that have been replaced. And the high power for what it is with the components that it has really does shoot out very nicely. Let's run over here to this 2016. One of the things I wanted to demonstrate for you, I do want you to just kind of listen. The later generation high powers, these were extremely well done, and I'm talking about specifically from somewhere in the mid 2010 range to even maybe 2010, 11, 12 till the end. There's just this silkiness aspect of everything about these late generation high powers. We don't hear that kind of I'd say silkiness in the this is about a 30-year-old 30,000 round high power. It never, that I remember, do I remember it just being that kind of silky, if you can just get the idea. The BH veteran who sent this to us, he had already installed SFS, or the fast safety, on it. During this trip, he went ahead and had us put a pair of RDIH grips on. In the morning, we are going to be pressing out these LPA fiber optic sights. He doesn't like those. The rear isn't adjustable, but he just doesn't like these. I wanted to mention something here. Originally, this BH veteran had chosen a pair of Novak sights with Mark III dovetails, but the rear sight was kind of like a low pro style, and it was going to require milling down the slide, milling down the firing pin retaining plate, and it's kind of a lowered rear sight kind of a regimen. Typically that would take a refinish of the slide as well. We wound up having another consultation with this BH veteran, and he's going to have Mepro Light night sights installed, which are press in, press out. What I explained to him is when you mill down this slide on a high power for the sights that he had chosen, most of the time it goes fine. I've had more than one gunsmith who have done that surgery over the years and tell me that, look, if you choose to do that, sooner or later you're going to buy somebody a slide. Well, BH is not in the mood to buy anybody a Browning high power slide, especially since they're out of production and can't be found and made anymore. They're not made anymore. But I think the BH veteran made a good decision by going ahead with Mepro lights on this. For years, Browning called this black finish, which is really, we believe, a baked on epoxy paint finish. They called this a matte black, but over the years you can see this turned into a gloss black. I mean, it almost favors bluing to a great extent. It imposters as bluing. I can only call it a gloss black because it's not bluing. But it's an appealing finish, and it's, in my opinion, better than some of the matte black finishes that they did over the years. Finally, the BH veteran here had us install the BH Advanced Trigger Subassembly, and you can see this is the extra wide model with some gentle serrations to it. And we did install that. Now we do have very positive magazine ejection. It's kind of fun to compare this because this is the typical high power magazine. It gets hung by that magazine disconnect in the case of this one, and the magazines just don't positively eject. Removing the magazine disconnect typically makes the magazine fall free by gravity. That's magazine eject assist. It doesn't need gravity, and really gets the magazine out so you can load another magazine much quicker. And this particular high power for this BH veteran, I'm going to show you a trigger pull on this one. And see what we can see here. Right about 4 1/8 pound. And this BH veteran is very happy to be getting this back. You know, we talked for years about, you know, a trigger pull that low in the high power not being advisable, not being safe. With the new BH Advanced Trigger Subassembly, that is a possible safe trigger pull. In fact, in this case of this one, it is very, very safe. I do want to show you what kind of reset you get for that kind of trigger pull in a high power. In the case of this high power, all of the trigger travel is on the front end and the brake. And then when the slide recoils, because this is a positively positioned Type 2 steer lever, there is no over travel whatsoever, and the total reset is that. And it is a very positive reset. One more time. As you can see, there's some authority in that reset there. And it's a positive audible click kind of a reset. The BH Advanced Trigger, it's recessed quite nicely back in the frame. In fact, this is a good moment to show you a side-by-side comparison of the geometry of the two triggers, the original and the BH Advanced Trigger. You can see how this one would be kind of a down and back kind of a motion, and the BH Advanced Trigger would tend to be more of a straight back kind of a motion. So anyway, there is a presentation for you of kind of some of the highlights of old versus new. Oh, one more thing I wanted to show you. This is kind of a cool thing. Sorry, I know you thought we were finished. I wanted you to look at the markings on this very early high power Fabrique Nationale d'Armes de Guerre, Erstal Belgique, Browning's Patent Déposé. Nothing on this side, just the serial numbers. 32 years ago now, Browning High Powers coming into the United States, imported as Browning High Powers, said Browning Arms Company, Morgan, Utah, and Montreal, Fabrique Nationale Erstal, and on this side, Browning SA, standing for single action, made in Belgium. And then by 2016, we don't see any mention of FN anymore on the Browning High Power. We do see Browning Arms Company, Morgan, Utah, and Montreal. And on this side, look what we have. This was one of the first times that we ever saw FN or Browning use the words, you see it, high power. Made in Belgium, assembled in Portugal. But again, FN just doesn't show up here. In a way, it kind of goes consistent with some of the pictures that my partner Slav and I took when we were in Erstal and Liège. and we went to the FN factory, and there's a marquee left of the entrance gates, and it's a Browning Buckmark marquee, and it says Browning, the Erstall Group, and that kind of goes along with what we see here, and I just thought it interesting because a lot of people, including we, haven't seen a lot of high powers that actually from Belgium or Belgium, Portugal, that actually say on the slide high power, but there it is, and wasn't always that way. So again, thanks for watching, folks. Mark Allen, BH Spring Solutions LLC and BHSpringSolutions.com.